Welcome to another episode of Sanctuary Radio. This is a podcast brought to you by Sanctuary Recovery Centers. Our mission is to break the stigma surrounding addiction, to empower others to live addiction-free lives, providing hope to those who suffer from addiction and offer continued care and true healing. I mean, here we are again. And I mean, it's another episode of Sanctuary Radio. I mean, and it couldn't be a better time to do an episode on a Friday.
I'm so excited.
And first off, welcome Haley.
What's up, everybody?
What's up, Haley?
I mean, Haley's here.
I am.
I mean, you got your hair done and lashes on?
No, I didn't do my lashes, hence the
Oh,
glasses.
the glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, it's confusing.
I can't wear my eyelashes with my glasses, and I can't see without my glasses. So when I have my eyelashes on, I'm basically blind.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I
Now
don't
it's
have-
good to
That
know.
is noted.
Yeah.
I thought you were just clumsy.
No.
Oh, okay. Now
Have you
it
ever
makes
seen
sense.
me drive without my glasses?
Yeah, I
Yes.
have seen
It's
you
very
drive.
scary.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely makes sense. In today's episode, we have our very own Travis on the show. Welcome, Travis, everybody.
Hi, Travis.
Hey,
I'm excited for you to be here.
yeah, me too. I'm very, very excited to be here.
And one thing you need to know about Travis is he is the true OG of Sanctuary.
100%.
He is the first Sanctuary employee, longest tenured employee that we actually have.
Yep.
From the very beginning when we opened up the RTC, our residential program. He was that guy. He was the night guy. He worked nights for over a year. Rain or shine, Travis was there. He was there when I got hired, he was there when Haley got hired, so Travis has been there through it all. And now fast forward, when we opened the IOP in January with the PHP houses, he got promoted to case manager. He's killing the game. And we're just so thankful that we have the opportunity to have you on the show, Travis. OG Travis Bennington. All right.
Thank you.
You know, I have to
Thank you,
tell
man.
this story because I think
Yeah.
it's quite funny. But we worked together at another facility that we won't name.
The name we shall not speak.
But so Travis was working at the house, and it was when I got my sister scholarshiped into the program, and she's the reason why Travis got fired from that program.
Yeah.
And
I was
I
like,
feel
thanks.
so bad, but me and Travis know each other from that last job. So I'm so happy that Sanctuary picked him up, and he's been here ever since because he's killing it. And it sucks for that other facility that let him go over a silly
yeah.
mistake.
Oh, you don't messed up, right?
It was definitely not his fault. It was 100% my sister's fault. So
Sorry, I
Well,
don't mind being put on blast.
Yeah, and so here we are, man. We got
Right.
Travis here, and to have him on the show, it's just an honor. And every single one, just like all the other employees that we've interviewed, and anyone that we bring on the show, we all have a story, we all have a message. We're here today because we have a passion for this, to help others. That's why we do it.
Right.
Utilizing our past becomes our greatest asset. We become qualified to help the next sick and suffering individual, and hopefully, we can play a small part in their recovery. So we got Travis here today, and Travis, you're born in California. Shout out Dodgers.
Yeah, a little shout out Dodgers.
Are
Back
you-
then it was LA Rams too, if you can believe that,
I know.
and LA Raiders. Back this is how
Are
long
you a
ago
Raiders
that
fan?
was. I was growing up. Yes, I was.
Well, who's your team now?
My team now. Yeah, I'm kind of without a team because
You're
I'm not really
teamless?
from Arizona.
and
So,
we kind of suck.
but
Our
I-
sports teams do suck. So
But I still root for the Cardinals. So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I still root for the home team. But I lived so many places
That is true.
eventually I stopped having a home team that I felt connected to.
Because you moved a lot. So why don't you
yeah.
share a little bit about what it was like, growing up in California? I know your mom worked for Paramount, dad worked for NBC. You guys moved a lot. They got divorced when you were young.
Yeah.
So why don't you just share a little bit about all that, like that time period, your childhood, so we just kind of get a little perspective on how you grew up and how that's affected you as you've continued to get older, and ultimately drug addiction. You're recovered now, which is a beautiful thing to be a part of and see and watch and see the man you are today. So why don't you share a little bit about that time period?
Okay. Well, growing up in California during that time, this is you gotta think this is the early 80s. You know what I mean? So this was at the time the Olympics were in Los Angeles, like around 84. It was a trippy place to be because, Hollywood, my mom worked in Hollywood and we lived in Burbank, which is like a little suburb in Los Angeles, right next to Hollywood. And I got to see a lot of really weird things, a lot of cool things. Like I got to tour the Starship Enterprise where they filmed that and all that, and see where they filmed the TV shows and the movies at Paramount, and run into stars like Whoopi Goldberg and Leonard Nimoy that played Spock. And I got to see a lot of glitz and glamour and behind the scenes stuff at a very young age. But my mom was an administrative assistant for a guy who was kind of a bigwig there. So she didn't make necessarily a lot of money. So we didn't have a lot of money, you know. But I was surrounded by like all this big flashy stuff, and we didn't have a lot of money. And so I started to notice this like disparity sort of like of what I viewed as like the haves and the have-nots at a real young age. I started to get like a bitter feeling about it, you know, at a very young age. And I think it sort of shaped, it just kind of warped my ego a little bit, you know, because on one hand I was like, well, yeah, I'm behind the scenes at Paramount Pictures. This is great. But at the same time, we're really actually just like everybody else, you know?
Right.
And so it started warping my ego, I think, at a pretty young age. I started thinking I was somebody that I wasn't, you know? And I started thinking that I didn't see myself clearly, I don't think. You know, I think it really warped the way I saw myself in the world.
Yeah, and so when we think about those things, you know, that perception we have of self, and throw everything else that comes in the mix over the next, you know, if you're anything like me, 15 years of, you know, active addiction, I have a real negative perception of self, and that just continues to fuel my addiction. Haley, you ever been to Hollywood?
I don't know, probably.
What do you mean you don't know? Probably.
I don't know.
You ever go to California?
I've gone to California. I've been to, my mom's from, well, she's from New York, but she lived in San Francisco. So.
Oh, shout out Golden State Warriors.
I've been to San Francisco, been to San Diego, been to Disneyland.
San Diego's awesome.
But I don't think I've ever been to Hollywood. I don't think I've ever.
And
my eating disorder treatment was in California too. So
that's right.
Okay. Hollywood is like the eating disorder capital of the world. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So there was that, but
so
never been to Hollywood.
Okay. Yeah. And so, you know, you say you moved a lot. What do you mean by move a lot?
So my parents got divorced when I was 7, like you mentioned. And so I had 2 single parents, each trying to raise me and my 2 sisters. And it was difficult for them because each of them on their own didn't make a lot of money necessarily. And so that led to us having to move a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean like every year. Like I would get through maybe a school year and we'd have to move, or maybe a school year and a half and we'd have to move. And I lost a lot of friends because of that. I would make friends. I sort of over time, each time I had to move, I got a little bit better at making friends and a little bit better at making friends. And so on one hand, it kind of brought me out of my shell and taught me how to connect with people, you know, really quickly and kind of superficially.
Right.
But I always had to say goodbye, and I always had to leave these friends that I would make. And I made a lot of really cool people along the way, and it broke my heart every time we had to move. And I didn't know it then. What I understand now is that I developed this feeling that the rug was going to be pulled out from underneath me at any minute. And so it created that sort of that fear and that low grade anxiety that lived in my stomach all the time.
Right.
As a kid, leading right up to the time, you know, that I started using drugs and alcohol. I had that feeling as long as I can remember, you know, and even into adulthood and into early recovery.
Yeah. And so when you think about that, you know, it's the anxiety, it's the fear, it's the, you know, low self-esteem. It's, you know, the resentment that we have. I mean, you moving all the time, you're losing friends. That's never cool. That sucks. You know, you almost created resentment towards mom and dad for moving so much.
Oh yeah, totally.
I mean, that probably came out in the 4-step.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, big time.
That was all. That was right at the top.
Yeah, right at the top.
I can relate to moving a lot, but we never left Wickenburg. But we moved 21 times in Wickenburg.
21 times? How do you move 21 times in Wickenburg?
Just ask my dad. I don't know.
That's awesome.
My dad. There was always something. You know, we had too many livestock on the property. We couldn't stay. He was
you move across the street, back across the
yeah,
street,
exactly.
across the street. I mean, is that how it works in Wickenburg?
I mean, you know, Congress, Forepaugh, like surrounding areas.
In front of the Taco Bell, behind the Taco
Yeah,
Bell
exactly.
to the
I
left.
can see it. Like
if we even have a Taco Bell, no, we have one Taco Bell.
Yeah, you do.
I can relate to that. I can see that. We moved so many times in Southern California that it was ridiculous. You know,
Right.
I lived all the way up in Lancaster at one point, north of LA. We lived in like Pasadena. You know, and we bounced all over the place. So
Right.
You ever moved to San Gabriel Valley?
No, not San Gabriel Valley. We went to Ventura one time. We lived in Ventura.
Yeah.
That's about as far.
You know, my wife was born in Pasadena, San Gabriel Valley.
Oh yeah, just Pasadena's dope.
Yeah, she lived in San Gabriel Valley, but she was, you know, born in Pasadena.
Pasadena, cool.
Yeah, shout out to Ash.
That's super cool. The Rose Bowl, it was my
Rose
jam.
Bowl.
Yeah, Rose Bowl was my jam. They used to have this swap meet at the Rose Bowl, And I'll tell you the story because it's relevant to what we're talking about here. They had this swap meet at the Rose Bowl every year, and like in the summertime, I went there and I got this shirt, and on it just had a piece of toast and just said the word toast on it. And I used to wear that shirt to parties, and like that became my jam. It was like everybody would be like toast.
That became your nickname.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and I'd have my toast shirt on. And I was, of course, I'm eating it up.
And then as your addiction progresses, now you're just toasted.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
You needed to add the ED in there.
Exactly. I didn't realize it was like foreshadowing.
The future.
Right.
Yeah,
That's funny.
I would be a burnt piece of toast. Eventually.
Yeah, that is true. Well, I think for all of us, and so you start using in junior high, and I think it's just like typical of most kids, right? You're smoking weed, you're drinking, we like the effect, so we continue to do it. A little bit of coke on the weekends, but we come from the same kind of era, and we come from the psychedelic era. So in high school, you ever done any acid?
No.
I've asked you this before,
You
haven't I?
And I haven't done the worst. Was salvia or whatever it's called.
My God.
That's nothing.
And it made me feel like I was drowning, and I hated it. And it was like 30 seconds long. So I was like,
Right.
nope, I cannot try any psychedelics.
You felt like you were being reborn into the
well,
Matrix?
listen, I already go into psychosis with meth. I couldn't imagine myself putting myself in a psychosis from psychedelics.
Some
It
acid.
just did not sound
Extra.
fun to me at all.
Well, I mean, we were, me and Travis were talking about this earlier. It was just that time period, man. It
Right,
seemed like
everybody was doing
it was
it.
easier
Yeah.
to get that than weed at times.
It
And
was.
so, why don't you talk a little bit about high school, experimenting with the drugs and just what, all that really came to be and what that was about in your life?
Okay. Again, we moved a lot, even through high school. I moved a lot and got shifted back and forth between mom and dad. And so I never really had that sense of home going on or the sense of belonging. And so my only go-to, like my identity was getting loaded. My identity was like the guy who at the party who's going to get more loaded than anybody else.
Right. I
I'm
can
gonna-
relate to that.
I'm going to
Yeah, you
drink.
can.
Yeah.
I'm going to drink more
Me
than
too, though.
anybody. I'm going to
Yeah, exactly.
know more about weed than you. I'm going to
I'm going to have 16 bongs.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have 16 bongs made out of common household items and like everything.
I need a banana.
Right?
An apple.
yeah.
I'm gonna have a pull start bong. It's like,
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so that was like my identity. I mean, that was the only thing I had to really hold on to because I was so disconnected. I mean, I wasn't involved in sports or anything by this point because drugs had already diverted me from that, or any academic extracurricular activities or just any connection to school at all. It was just another place to go to see the people that I got high with when we weren't
Right.
there, or sometimes when we were there, that was it.
And so, we continue to experiment, and then ultimately get in the punk rock scene a little bit.
Oh yeah, yeah, we did. That was why eventually I started going to a lot of punk rock shows with my friends, and we were a bunch of
Like, what kind of punk rock are we talking about?
Well, different things like No Effects to
Yeah.
Descendants to you name it. Face to Face, all the punk rock
Phoenix
bands.
TX.
Yeah, and there with it came this element of like,
Production's over
Of
there
people
just
that
going,
I know.
oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
knows
he's
what's up.
shaking his head.
yeah, he knows what's up. Nice. In fact, somebody just gave me a Descendants shirt today, and I was like, thank you. Like that's awesome. And
But what comes with that scene?
well, what came with it for me was some people I knew that were doing heroin, and I mean they were doing intravenous heroin.
Yeah, they weren't just messing around with
Right.
heroin. They were doing heroin.
No, and this was pretty young people. We were young people at the time, and
And you didn't see much of that because, you're a few years older than me. But, I mean, back then, dude, like, I didn't see any of that anywhere. You know what I mean? So,
it was weird. I was living in Dallas at the time,
Yeah.
and this was at the time that there was this big surge of heroin in Dallas, and it was like on MTV, and the MTV put out this big special about Plano, Texas, and the heroin in Plano, Texas, which is right next to Dallas, and we remember because like Serena Altschul or whoever the VJ was at
Yeah.
the time
That's
came
funny.
and was like, everyone was like, wow, and, we just thought it was cool because they were talking about us.
we
you
made
know?
the news,
Yeah,
dog.
Yeah,
I thought it
exactly.
was cool because they were basically talking about us in a roundabout way. And there's a guy, I won't say his name, but there's a buddy of mine, and he shot me up for the first time. And I remember it was like, there was no resistance for me at all. When it came to trying heroin, I was already primed and ready to go. I had been doing so much dope, and I was just such an angry, messed up little dude at the time that when the opportunity arose to get shot up with some heroin, I was like, well, I was about it, you know?
Yeah,
Sign
like,
me
yeah.
up.
As a matter of fact, I would like to do that today.
Yeah, it was like the Dewey Cox. It's like, no, actually, I think I do want to try that, you know? Like, that's how I felt. And
That's funny.
yeah, he's like, you don't want any of this shit, Travis? And I was like, actually, I think I do.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do, brother.
Yeah. And so he shot me up the first time. And then from then on, it was like I did with heroin what I did with everything else. You know, I was looking up ways to shoot up better and more and make it more pure. And you know what I mean? And just going crazy with it, taking it all the way to the max. And that was the first drug that I ever really was like, man, I got to stop this stuff, you know? Like, this is bad. This is not good. I can't continue on like this. And found that I couldn't stop and was baffled for the very first time by that drug. It was like, holy moly, like I can't stop doing this.
You know, that's the, you know, when we say cunning, baffling, and powerful, you know, the baffling feature is the utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't
Even after
not
getting
use.
your kids taken away or whatever it is, you still can't stop.
Oh yeah, we lost everything. I mean, I was getting put out of my parents. I got put out of mom's house.
Dropped out of school, right?
Yeah, jumped, you know, couch surfing and being like an unwelcome hanger on at people's houses.
Guy on the couch.
Yeah, being the guy on the couch that's asleep at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Your friends, girlfriends are pissed off. They're like, "Fucking Travis is still here.
he's
Tell your boy to go home."
He's still here.
Right.
Yeah, big time. You know, and it was all in the name of staying well. You know, and staying well on that stuff. And the only way I was able to get away from heroin at that time was to move away to a place where I was reasonably sure I couldn't find it. And so I did that for a while.
And you moved into what, North Carolina?
Yeah, I moved. My dad was already living in North Carolina, and I had spent a little stint with him there earlier in high school. And so I went back to North Carolina and, of course, got myself in a whole heap of mess with crack out there. You know
that's
what I mean?
what they got on the East Coast.
That's what they got out there in North Carolina. They had 40s and crack. And
I just wish I had a crack story.
Oh, dude.
No,
you don't.
No, you don't.
Everyone,
No, you don't.
it seems so funny. Like,
So you were drinking King Cobras and smoking crack?
Smoking crack. Yeah, not so much. Oh, man, King Cobras. I remember those. But it was like Schlitz Blue Bull was big and Mickey's was big. And it's just that thing, you know. And at the time, I didn't realize it was like whatever drug was the available drug that was there to do. That's what I was going to do, you know?
Yeah, I tell
If
everyone all the
I can find
time.
this crack, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's like, I prefer opiates, but what do you got right now?
right.
Exactly.
And we'll take that and we'll start there, and then I'll get some more
Right.
Dude,
of whatever we can get right now.
That's it. Whatever we got right now is what's going
Yeah,
down.
and so you end up going to a treatment center up there, and you become best friends with a dude in treatment, and you guys have best friend ideas when you get out of treatment.
Oh, yeah.
And you try to pull off an armed robbery.
Yeah, this is a pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization right here in action. I let this guy talk me into. We were all fiended out. We've been smoking crack. We graduated from the rehab. You know, we linked up.
You graduated from the rehab.
We graduated from the rehab. We're smoking crack very shortly thereafter. like a couple of good career crackheads, and I let him talk me into doing this armed robbery with him. That ends up becoming like the most bungled armed robbery of all time. You know, I mean, like I wish I could say that like I'm this hard ass dude. Like I did armed robbery. Like
You're on World's Dumbest Criminals.
Aren't I a badass? Yeah. No, but the truth is, yeah, it's some World's Dumbest Criminal shit. Like an
Poor Travis.
like an off-duty cop, like an off-duty cop, like drove by when he was doing it. You know what I mean? Saw that something was weird in the store and called it in. And you know, we weren't like a mile down the road before like 20 cop cars, felony stopped us. You know, it was bad. And but I just think of that as like the progression and the incomprehensible demoralization of it all. Like how badly do you gotta want? Like how badly did I want to get high that I was willing to do that? You know,
Right.
like when there was, you know, I could have stole a lawnmower and pawned it or something. I could have done something else. I could have done anything else, but it was like, okay, let's do this, you know?
Yeah, this is a great idea.
This
This is
sounds
good. Let's
awesome.
do this, you know? And like, I look back at that and it just blows my mind. Like how demoralized I became
Yeah.
to where that was like, I didn't care anymore. I just didn't care.
Yeah, and so, naturally when you get arrested, you get put on probation, and the problem with probation is
They wanted me to pee in a cup. Yeah, they wanted me to pee in a cup, and that I couldn't pull that off to save my life, you know? And so that got sent to prison.
So you go to prison, right?
Yeah.
In North Carolina, they violate you many, many times until finally they're like, hey, check it out, man. You're going to DOC now.
Yeah. They said, you're going to DOC. I mean, they didn't even give me a chance either. It wasn't. They didn't. I went.
Oh,
to,
they didn't reinstate you at
no,
all?
There's no reinstatement, nothing. They were just like, you're going to do your time, and I was like, all right. So we're doing this, and I remember being in county. It's my first time going on state, you know, and of course everybody's there pumping my head full of ideas about the horrible things that were going to happen at prison, you know. And I was like, oh man, this might be kind of bad, you know.
Yeah, this might not be so fun.
this
Right.
might not be as awesome as I think it's going to be. And of course I get there and it's a cakewalk, you know. I mean, it was nowhere where I want to spend my life. But it was nothing like, you know,
Like you hear.
like watching Oz on HBO
Yeah,
or
it's
anything.
definitely
You know
not.
what I mean?
You know, when my
You know,
mom
it's
when
like-
my mom would see, you know, think about me being in prison, you know, she would immediately go to Oz, you know. And you know, some yards, 4 yards, don't get it twisted.
Yeah,
there's some, you know what I mean. But when
Yeah.
you catch a little 2-year sentence or, you know,
You're on
minimum custody,
security, yeah,
it's a work camp.
yeah. That's
Even
what it was.
Even Haley can make it there.
Hopefully.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Hopefully I never have to
Well,
go there.
after
Right?
I was going to say.
after interviewing her dad was 250 and 0, right? And Haley got the hands from Pops. Pops was
okay.
a
I tried
golden.
to tell you.
Yeah, well, I know now.
He was a boxer.
Your
Yeah.
dad was? That's awesome.
Yeah, he used to fight everybody.
That's
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
literally, he'd be so mad if I told the story, but someone told him he had to put a mask on during COVID, and he beat the crap out of him because he's like, I'm telling you, I'm not putting a mask on. He's like, the guy was in his face, and he wasn't even like an employee of the store. It was just some crazy guy. My dad's like, you better back up because
Yeah.
you're about to catch these hands.
After we had her dad on
Yeah.
Sanctuary Radio, I've just learned a whole lot, and it all makes sense to me
makes
now.
sense.
I mean,
Yeah.
I completely get it now.
So mine
The
and
story
Jason's
of Haley.
relationship, he understands me a little bit more
Yes,
now. So.
Nice.
yeah, we're.
I'm going to listen to that podcast so I
Yeah.
can understand too.
Yeah, you wanna
It'll
listen.
be telling for
you
sure.
want to hear that. And so just like everyone, I think, you know, when we go to prison, right, it's just like, you know, we're getting ready to get out. We have all these goals and dreams and aspirations, and I'm going to do different this time, and I'm going to stay sober. And, you know, and you had a goal, right? Your goal
Oh,
was,
yeah.
what was your goal? To go live down by the beach?
Oh yeah, I mean, I had plenty of time to sit around and think about it at my work camp, you know, and we were working 12-hour days. I was working 12 at the prison next door in the canteen, the staff canteen. So I was cooking up short orders for the staff that came in, which was the easiest job you could get. And I had lots of time to think. And I came up with the idea that I was going to just move to the beach and be like a simple, quiet, like beach bum dude, you know?
Just homeless
this-
on the beach.
Just a stony dude that lives at the beach, you know, and that was going to be just away from all the chaos and the crack.
Just smoke
and
a little bit of weed, play hacky sack.
Yeah, maybe smoke a little weed.
That sounds
play
really
some
nice,
volleyball.
though. Yeah,
Like, that was
I
my
could see
plan.
why it was appealing.
Yeah,
Play
man.
some,
Yeah.
He said, play some volleyball.
Yeah, like me and with a Corona, you know what I mean? Like I had the whole thing in my
Oh
mind
my
worked
God.
out.
That's hilarious.
And I got there and I had to get a job because I was in a halfway house, you know. And the problem was I got a paycheck, you know, I got that first paycheck and it lit on fire in my pocket and I was smoking crack within 2 weeks, you know.
So
and
beach
there we
life to
went.
crack real quick.
Real
Yeah.
quick. So there I was. I was like, you know, from playing with white balls to white rocks, you know, just like that, you know.
Yeah, and it happened so quick too. And so then,
One
you know,
paycheck.
yeah, and then you start bouncing around. Then you go back. Now you're going back from North Carolina to Louisiana, back and forth, and you know you want to get sober, kind of. It's just really, you don't really have any place to go, so you find yourself in treatment many times, and then back to relapse, and then, you know, there's one particular treatment center you go to where, I mean, we're talking about God, Jesus, right? You go to a Jesus treatment center,
Oh yeah.
and what was
fully.
that like for you?
Well, this was another place. I mean, I was at rock bottom again. You know, I'd been at rock bottom so many times with nowhere to go, and a friend of mine introduced me to this rehab, this place, and it was like a full on Jesus rehab. Like,
was it like the
was
one where
religious.
you during detox you get locked in a prayer closet and have to pray the detox away?
No,
There's
but
one
that's-
in Phoenix that's
no,
like
that's
that.
Are
amazing.
you kidding me?
I won't drop their name
Yeah,
because
we
it's
don't.
kind of
Yeah,
messed up.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
No,
Give them a no shout out.
They're
This-
like, you don't need medication, just Jesus.
Well,
like,
that's brutal.
I know.
The place I was at wasn't that brutal. Like it wasn't that
Listen,
brutal.
I do love Jesus. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but that is insane to me. That's too much.
Yeah, that's too much.
You need a medical detox.
Yes. Yeah, we're not advocating throwing people in the closet to detox here at Sanctuary.
No,
That's
we're not.
funny.
Yeah. The place I was at though, what we did was it was another work rehab. It was like work rehabilitation. We went out and mowed lawns to raise money for the rehab, and and support
It was
the
like
church.
Teen Challenge
Like
or something?
It wasn't Teen
Salvation
Challenge,
Army.
but it was kind of modeled a little bit after that.
Yeah.
If I looking back at it now, if I had to guess, and I was into it too. Like I got fully into it. Like I memorized the Sermon on the Mount and performed it in front of the church, like all 3 chapters of the Bible that is, you know, and I got up and then they started carting me around to nursing homes in the area. This is in the middle of nowhere, Louisiana, by the way. And they started taking me to nursing homes to do this little shtick, you know, and the old ladies were loving it, you know, like they just loved when Travis came to do the Sermon
Right.
on the Mount, you know.
I love that. I think
Yeah.
that's so sweet, Travis.
And, well, it was cool because
Yeah.
I was seeking something, you know what I mean? Like I was in that phase of recovery where I was seeking something greater, you know.
Right.
And I was trying to connect to something greater than myself any way I could, you know. And like I didn't know what that entailed. I didn't know what to do. So that's why I did that. You know, I was hoping to have some kind of without realizing it, hoping to have some kind of a spiritual experience and have something change within me, because I was just, you know, at this point I was already sick of who I was.
Right.
Yeah.
What I'd
Did you
become.
graduate?
And I graduated. I became an intern. After you graduate, you can become an intern there. You can get a 6-month internship where you work there and live there and eat for free and all that. And what I didn't understand then, that I understand now, is that the obsession of the mind of an addict, and how it can strike at any moment, you know. And when that happens, it's already too late for a guy like me. And so it hit me one time. I was working there, and it was the middle of the night, and I was watching The Office, and I took a bunch of money out of the filing cabinet, out of the petty cash, and I took the church van. This was on a Saturday night, and smoked
Took the church van and the petty cash
Yeah.
and went to go get some crack.
and smoked crack all
Yes.
night long until and didn't come back until past time, where it was time for them to take the clients to church in the church van. So there was like an APB out in this small town for me in this van. I didn't know it, you know. And I'm going down the street, and then like 4 cop cars were like, you know, surround me, and like, of course, again, there I am, felony stop, you know. I'm on my face on the pavement, and the 2 dudes I was rolling with, they try to run away, and, you know, they don't make it. And so then I sat in jail for like another 8 months over that, as well, rightly so, you know.
So it's safe to say you might not be
Right.
getting invited back for the alumni program over there.
No, I don't think.
Maybe
I don't
now.
think it-
Maybe not.
I'm
Well,
not on the
actually,
You
Wall
never
of
know.
Fame,
God
you know what I mean?
works
you
miracles in our
should
life.
be invited back now
Right.
after you know everything that you've been through, and you know the amazing life and journey that you have, and how heavily involved you are in recovery. But you know, so ultimately, man, that's how you end up in AZ, right? Because your mom bails you out. Thank God.
Yeah.
We were talking about this too. Thank God. Shout out, mom.
Yes, big time.
Yeah.
Shout out, Mom. I love my mom.
Yeah.
She probably saved my life with that one move.
Yeah, and
That's
so,
awesome.
And so you land out here in Arizona, man, and you know now you're on this, you know, meetings relapse again, and you know you find this thing out here in Arizona called methamphetamine. So why don't you just talk
yeah.
about that time period when you came out here?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I got out here, and again, at this point, crack was basically what I was into and what I knew, even though I had been into heroin years before. And so I did what anybody does. I ask around, and everybody points you to Van Buren. So
Oh, yeah.
I ended up on Van Buren.
Shout
like,
out Van Buren.
my first couple of weeks here, you know,
Oh
I'm on
my
24th
God.
Street in Van
Oh,
Buren.
Bill Johnson's
Good
Big
Lord.
Apple.
Yeah, yes, dude, that's right. And right there by the
That says a
right
lot
there by
about
the
me and
state
you.
hospital, man.
Yeah, you know we're old school when we talk about Van Buren.
Yeah, that between 24th Street and that Big Johnson's right there, that little stretch was gnarly.
I'm pretty
And,
sure Van Buren's still just as bad though.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think all the I-17 all the way
Well,
down.
that's
is bad.
true. It's
Yeah,
it's
I-17
everywhere now,
corridor
really,
is
because it was
early.
35th Ave all the way down for me on
Yeah.
the 17. So
Oh man, yeah, all those areas are just
All
like,
them motels over there.
Yep.
oh, dude,
Yep.
it's bad. And I spent a lot of time in those motels, you know. And my mom, bless her heart, she bought me this car. I think she dropped about $4,000 on a little used car for me, and I went down there and I cracked it off.
Perfect.
Never saw it again.
How much can I get?
Yeah, I cracked it off and never saw the car again. The car, we went through the process of filing a police report, but even the cop was like, "You're never going to see this car again."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
gone.
in Mexico.
That's what he said. He said it's in Mexico. It's gone.
Yeah.
You know, he goes, "You're not getting this car back." But it's cool that you filed a report. My
Yeah.
mom was so hot; she was mad, and I just that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It was like, and every time something like that happened, that I created this situation and those things happened, it was
Right.
like, just like my self-worth and the remorse that you
And
wear,
the
that you
guilt.
wear, and the guilt and the shame that comes with that was like, I don't know how to even describe it. It was like I wore remorse and shame like a lead coat. There's a guy in the program I used to who uses that term like a lead coat, and that's exactly what it was like. You know,
Right.
Just become a miserable individual.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so when we do those things on our sprees, right, our actions, we hurt the people we love the most. Guilt, shame, embarrassment, remorse, regret, and then what do? We repeat it. We get high again. We repeat.
Right.
Yeah.
And so 10 years of repeating a hamster on a hamster wheel, the insanity of our addiction, when we feel again, it just feels so, lead suit.
Oh, dude.
It feels like we can't climb our way out of it. And so
Right.
now, you get introduced to meth, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, existence was excruciating at this point. Just being awake. Just being awake was excruciating. And I got introduced to meth. That's when I started doing things like building,
Spaceships.
building stargates in the backyard and like out of dental floss
That's
and
awesome.
and chicken wire. And I actually literally one time I was living in Tempe at this time, and at one time, and I built a very intricate net and set of trip wires all through the property out of dental floss,
Oh my god.
so that I could hear anybody trying to sneak up on me.
They're not going to catch me slipping.
And then a cat got tangled in it and set it off, and like I almost had a heart attack.
You're like, I knew it. They've been following me this
Yeah,
whole
it
time.
was like jingle jingle. I had it connected to these keys in a pot, so the jingle in the pot.
like poor kitty.
Yeah, and the cat got tangled in, and the keys jingled, and I jumped up. About had a heart attack, and so yeah, methamphetamines did me dirty. Like,
Dude.
yeah, I started
understand.
I started ending up in places like Aurora, a lot of hospitals.
Like psych.
Yeah, a
psych
lot of
settings.
psych stuff started happening. It's funny because when I look back at it now, like pretty much immediately when I started using meth, I was going into psychosis, but it was like fun psychosis where I didn't really know I was in psychosis. I was just doing really weird things,
Right.
and like the building stargates and stuff. And it wasn't until after a few years of that's when it started to get dark. That's
Right.
when I started to hear voices like really mean sounding, like demonic sounding type voices, and that's when it's really started to freak me out. And that's when I was like really started to get on a quest to try to get sober.
Right.
I mean, it drove me to my knees. The psychosis.
You ever been in psychosis, Haley?
Mm-hmm.
It ain't
Lots
no
of
joke,
times.
huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So I was in a psychosis for 30 days after I got sober.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was a heavy meth user. So.
I
So,
believe it. Like, that was me.
Well, yeah, when we've had many different clients that have came through the residential, anytime because meth really wasn't my thing. I never really stay up for, more days than maybe like 2, right?
The
Really
longest I've stayed up was 18 days.
yeah. I mean,
Can you imagine?
you might
me?
still be in
I just-
post-acute withdrawal from
all
those
I know
18
is-
days.
Can
Right,
you guys
dude.
imagine me
It
after
does something
like
to you.
being up for 18 days? Like,
I
oh my
couldn't.
god.
I couldn't. But I know, when we had those clients who
Right.
come in and they're there for, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks and they're in psychosis, Travis has been the one to go to, man. He's able to talk to him
Right.
about it. He's able to share his experience and, assure them that it's going to be okay and ground them and use grounding techniques. And, so I always know I can call on Travis anytime we have any psychosis issues because you suffer with it for a long time.
Yeah.
And, there's a thing called reverse tolerance, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, it doesn't get talked about very much, but reverse tolerance
It's
is
a
where,
real thing.
yeah, it's where like you do meth once and you're in psychosis immediately. Right. It happens with the alcohol over a period of time too. For some, you drink one, you're hammered.
Hammered. Yeah, just like they said, Edgar Allan Poe was like that.
Yeah, it's
like
called.
you would drink one drink, you just be smashed.
Yeah, it's
And
called.
it's more common in men. I'm just throwing that out there. Did you know that
what is-
psychosis with meth?
What are you trying to say?
No, I'm just throwing that out there.
Oh, just a fun fact.
Yeah. Just like women can't handle their alcohol because we don't have the enzymes in our stomach that you guys do to break it down as fast. So if you're a woman, don't drove drunk. You're gonna have a higher blood alcohol.
Oh wow!
Ooh,
See, I didn't
okay.
know that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Little science fact for you.
There's 2 things that I should be writing down with these podcasts. I learned something
You know
from
what?
you today.
Yeah, it was talking to my dad earlier today. They were
Episode
just-
15.
yeah.
I've learned something from Haley.
Right.
And so you're going to psychosis, man, and you're bouncing from, Aurora to detoxes to psych wards to it's starting to get so dark for you where you're finally seeing the need to change, like for real, because you're in a dark, dark place and, you're doing the halfway house 3/4 shuffle, stay long enough, maybe get a couple days, freak out, get high, and you're just bouncing around. And then, this marvelous thing happens where you find recovery, man. And that's where I really want to transition into now, getting a sponsor, working the steps, service commitments. I mean, you are the service commitment dude.
I always see his post on Facebook for the pigeon coop.
Oh, shout out to the pigeon coop.
Shout out to the pigeon coop. Yes.
Yes, dude.
Travis is like the face of the pigeon coop with all his posts.
No, he's heavily involved in all aspects of recovery. But I just want you to take this moment to talk about, what it was like when you got your sponsor and vigorously and honestly and thoroughly worked the steps, and what the steps meant to you, and just share about that for us.
Sure. First off, I mean, it matters, I think, to say for me that the sponsor that I got was the universe doing something for me that I couldn't do for myself. The guy I ended up working the steps with, because I was in a hospital, and a friend of mine, there's another psychosis thing, and a friend of mine who I'd been friends with in the program for years said, "Why don't you ask this person to be your sponsor?" And
was he doing like H&I or something?
And he does a lot of H&I. He does everything. He's in everything. My sponsor's done just about every position you can do almost. And she's like, "I think he'd be really good for you. I think you guys are a lot alike, and I think you guys would connect, and it would work." And I was willing to call some dude that I didn't even know and ask him to be my sponsor and just start taking suggestions from him. And I thought it was the most bizarre thing, because the first thing he asked me to start doing was meditate. His very first suggestion he gave me is, while I was in the hospital, he's like, "Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take 5 minutes in the morning, and I want you to sit quietly and set your intention for the day." And I was like, I didn't really have any idea what he meant by that at the time.
Okay.
But I was like, okay, I'm doing it. And so I started doing it. And it's a good thing he had me start doing that, because what that led to was a meditation practice that I still have today.
To this day.
Yeah, like at that time, I didn't do it every day, but it got me on the path of doing it.
Right.
And it did something to my meth-addled brain, that I think it really needed. I don't know. I mean, I could quote a couple of like cheesy science articles that I've read about what meditation does for your brain and all of that. But whatever it is it does, it started doing in my brain, and my brain started to chill out. Yeah,
it works.
And I started to be able to connect to like the work of doing the steps and have enough. I don't know, have two brain cells to rub together so I could write an inventory, and so I could remember stuff, and so I can make some sense of things, because I heard voices for like 4 months into getting sober, I was still hearing voices even while I meditated. It was insane, but my brain was slowly coming back to life. And I ended up having a really powerful experience with a couple of things. There was a meditation that we did there's this thing called the Wolfpack Retreat, where a bunch of guys go up to Prescott and do a retreat. And we did this meditation there, and I remember I got so quiet on the inside, like I just got super quiet.
The best feeling ever.
And I hadn't felt that since like I couldn't even remember when I felt that before, And then we get out of the meditation, I'm feeling this quiet feeling, and then this guy Terry M, he's like, "Hey, look out there," and there's all these deer running by the window of this place that we were at, and it was just this weird moment, and that stuck with me, and that was when I started to really connect to the idea that there was something in the universe that I could connect to. Maybe it was kind of a step 2 thing for me,
Right.
Like I started to connect to something. It was like, I don't know what I just connected to during that meditation, but I want more of that,
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I want more of that. I like the results I'm getting from doing this, And we went on to go through the steps, and the next thing that happened that was really powerful for me was when I did my 5th step. I had a really powerful 5th step experience. I don't know what to attribute it to, other than it's just what a 5th step does, I guess,
Yeah, well, it was like, it says when, illuminating every twisted character, every dark cranny of the past, withholding nothing.
Yeah.
And then we got the 5th step promises. We could look the world in the eye. We could be alone of perfect deeds. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator.
Yeah.
We begin to have a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
Because we put it all out there.
Right.
Yeah. And I had to do that. I had to put it all out there. All the douchey resentments that I had, about petty resentments that I had, all the embarrassing things I did, because when you're a tweaker, you do weird stuff when you're
100%.
yeah. You know what I'm saying? You do weird
It's
stuff.
hard to admit to some of this stuff. That's why I
Yeah.
think, you know, just like once you get it out there, it's like whatever, now it's out.
Yeah.
It's not eating you alive anymore.
Yeah, tweakers do weird things when they're by themselves, and so having to like, you know what I'm saying? You put a tweaker in a room by themselves for too long, and just weird stuff goes down.
I know.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So I had
Put
to put
4 of them in the room for too long, and
Yes.
some really
It
weird.
doesn't-
really
yeah.
weird stuff goes on. Dirty Mike and the boys, look out.
They're-
And
Oh my
and
god.
sorry about that. And but I put it all out there, you know. I did finally for the first time in my life. I took a couple runs at the inventory with my sponsor to get it, but you know, the peace and like the relief from anger that I felt was palpable. It wasn't immediate, you know, because like for the first day or so, I felt like a naked dumpster fire. I was like, why did I just tell somebody all that? Why did I do that? And it wasn't until a few days went by that it was like the peace started to settle in. And I was there was that quiet feeling on the inside again. And I started to get real quiet. And since that day, there's been a level of quiet on the inside that I've had that just hasn't gone away. You know, there's I believe I think the obsession was just kind of removed from me at that time.
Yeah.
Because I haven't, since we did that, I haven't had a time where I really wanted to get loaded. You know, and then it was compounded by doing amends. You know, by starting to do amends, by really looking at myself and owning the pettier aspects of myself and the uglier aspects of myself, and then going out and making amends. Because I'd never known what it was like to not owe somebody something. You know what I mean? Like I always owed somebody something, you know?
Right.
And to begin to repair that stuff, it really took a huge load off me. Like when I got sober, I'll give you an example. When I got sober, my mom would not let me know where she lived. I couldn't have her address because she had, in 2012, there was when like the darkest point of my journey was in 2012 to like 2000 and getting sober, you know. And my mom gave me like $250 and she was like, here, I'm buying you off with this money. Go do what you got to do with it, but don't contact me anymore. So I didn't talk to her for like 7 years, you know, until it was time to make amends. And I had to send my mom an email asking if she'd be willing to hear this amends. And then an email with the amends with the agreement that like I can afford to pay this much money to you every month to try to pay you back for all the money you sunk into my life that went nowhere, you know. And that's how it started. I couldn't even send it to my mom. I had to send it to my sister. I would send a money order to my sister, who would then mail it to my mom. You know,
Yeah, shit was deep.
It was deep, dude. But I was committed, and I was committed to doing that. And my sponsor was like, "You have to. This is what we got to do." You know, and he goes, "This is how you get free." And after 2 years of sending these money orders, eventually my mom, got brave one year and invited me to Christmas with my sister and the family and stuff. You know what I mean? So that was like a powerful amends story. But like,
Oh yeah.
But just that kind of stuff started to happen in my life. You know, there was somebody on my amends list who I was reasonably sure, was convinced that would never forgive me in a million years. You know, it was one of the hardest things on it was the hardest, in my opinion, thing on my amends list. You know, it was the biggest regret that I had on there. You know,
Yeah.
without going into detail. And eventually, I got a letter from that person saying that they were able to find forgiveness for me in their heart, you know, because of what I've been doing and stuff. And it was just like, whew, you know, that was a relief, you know, and like that quiet feeling again, that I could never shoot enough dope to get, you know. I could never do enough dope to get that fully quiet feeling. You know, I had some fleeting ones at the beginning when I first started getting loaded. Like the first time I did heroin, you know, that kind of stuff. But I've been chasing that feeling my entire life, and here I was starting to get it from doing the steps, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, and so like that really blew my hair back, and I was sold on doing this thing, you know, from then on. Like I was sold. Just it was like, it was so funny. Like I fought against it for so long. I fought against just surrendering and doing the work for so long. I mean, I was a joke. Like, I mean, I was like the guy at the meetings who's kind of a joke when he shows back up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's Travis again, getting another chip again.
Yeah, he thinks he's an old timer because he's relapsed 15 times and
Right,
keeps coming back.
Right. I have 30 days and I get my ticket gets called and I get up there and try to spit just knowledge at them. You know what I mean? At these dudes.
I'm going to write World Services and they left something out of the big book.
That's right.
Yeah, I want them to put this in there.
Yeah, that was me, man. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got broken enough, it just took a lot of breaking, I guess,
Yeah,
a lot of breaking.
it's the gift of pain and desperation,
Right.
man.
Yeah.
And, you find recovery, dude, and, you go full throttle from there. And I just want you to share briefly just all the different service commitments you've had. Because you're over 4 years of recovery, solid, full-blown recovery, So, I mean, that's huge. The odds of recovery aren't good, but the odds of, being sober over 4 years are not very good, dude. And we sit here, it's just a testament to the action
Right.
we put in and God and just our support systems and our families and our mothers and the fellowship. But share with everybody, dude, because, I mean, again, shout out to Pigeon Coop,
Yeah.
right? Let's talk
Yeah.
about your service commitments here for a minute.
Sure. There's the first thing I got involved with was at the Pigeon Coop, was a meeting called Hell and Back on Sunday nights at 8.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a speaker meeting. It's a CA speaker meeting. And this guy, Mark, who's a good buddy of mine in the program, we had met at a retreat and became friends. And this is where like somebody working their 12-step on me, like really saved me, because Mark would come all the way out to East Mesa where I was living at this sober living. Like he was living, closer to like West Mesa and almost Tempe.
Right.
And, the Pigeon Coop's in Tempe, and he would come all the way out to East Mesa at like Val Vista and like University and come get me on Sunday night and take me to Hell and Back. And then we would stay for the meditation meeting called Gutter Monks afterwards. And then it would be like 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday night. We both had to go to work in the morning, and he would drive me all the way home, and then he'd drive himself home. And he would do that every Sunday, like without fail. As long as I was willing to go, he was willing to come get me. And it was the most powerful thing, because I started getting connected with the people at the Coop and at Hell and Back. And I got a service commitment there. I started out, the first service commitment I ever had, that was like a secretary, because we needed one. They needed one, and they just threw me right in there, and I started doing it. And I've been at the, going to that meeting every Sunday since then. It's just part of like what I see as like a winning formula for me, so I don't want to mess with it. And we still go to, and now it's cool. Now I get the opportunity to take other guys. Like I get to be the one that picks up guys, takes them.
It's a
you know what I mean?
pay-it-forward program.
Yeah,
man.
like, and that's the shit. Like I love it, because my favorite Sundays are the ones when I get to go pick up a dude and take them to Hell and Back and Gutter Monks, and they get to experience that meditation meeting for the first time, and hear like a bomb speaker, and then experience the meditation meeting, and then then I take them home, and it's of course by the time I get home it's like 11:15 at night. I got to get up early on Monday, and so every Monday morning I'm a little groggy. I'm like, what? But
Poor Travis.
but it's like it's worth it. Like it's that kind of sleepy that's like
Right.
that I like. That
It's
I
not
know
a
that-
hungover sleepy.
Yeah, it's not a hungover sleepy. It's like I did something solid sleepy.
Yeah.
And so that feels good.
Yeah, and so you actually asked me to speak at that Hell and Back meeting, and
That was awesome.
And
Yeah.
from speaking at that meeting, I actually got asked to speak at the convention, because there was a convention, speaker seeker that was just happened to be there.
That's so awesome,
and
dude.
because of that, I got to speak at a convention, man, because you invited me, man, to come
Yeah.
out there to Hell and Back on a Sunday night.
That was killer.
And, yeah, it was cool, man. And and so after you start, recovering, and you got all these service commitments, you're heavily involved at the Pigeon Coop in every single aspect of it. You guys just threw a big comedy show at the Tempe Improv. We brought our clients.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was
Right.
amazing. That was cool. So what happened was I started around my mom pointed out to me at one point. She goes, every year around your birthday, you tend to relapse or get weird,
Get squirrely.
or relapse. She goes, I don't know what it is, but you just do. And she noticed that before I did. And so I started going and volunteering at the Pigeon Coop banquet, because it falls right on the same weekend as my birthday every year, which is right around February 3rd. And I would just show up there like this guy, hi, I'm here just to volunteer to do
To
whatever.
be of service of anything you need.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And they were like, okay, sure, and I'd be waiting tables, and delivering food to the tables and bussing tables and carrying chairs and just doing all whatever, And I did that for like 3 years in a row or something. And then they asked me, they were like, hey, you want to join the board here at the Coop?
I mean, you're pretty much already on it, brother. You want an actual spot?
That's basically what they said. They're like, we'd love to have you on the board. And I was like, all right, and they asked me I became the meeting liaison for the Coop, where I'm kind of the go-between between the meetings and the board. And I just thought it was the weirdest thing, like that anybody would ask me to be on the board of directors of anything,
Right.
like what, like you guys know who I am, right? Like,
Right.
you guys know my resume, right?
I mean, you got the keys to the place, brother.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, keys, the combos,
All that.
all the Google, everything. You know what I mean?
It's just a testament to the program that you
Right.
work, and so we got the non-negotiables of your recovery in check, and then from there we start to pursue a career and a career path and the passion, and so you start working in recovery, man, and you're an overnight guy, and Haley's get you fired from her sister.
Listen, I didn't personally do it,
Yeah.
so
Haley got you fired.
whatever.
You can make that amends to him whenever you're ready. There's got to be a
Definitely.
financial amends attached to that too, so make sure you do it properly.
Hey, listen, God was working through me for Travis.
Well,
to
the
end
big
up
book
here.
says
That's
we
all
pay
I'm
our
saying.
debts.
No, I
Think
know
about it.
It's okay, Haley. I don't blame you. I know what really went down with that. So I know it's not your fault.
But either way, it led you to us, man.
Right.
And you started working here as soon as we opened. First employee hired. That first overnight, man. You worked overnights, and
You
know,
worked overnights for quite a while.
over a
Yeah.
year
Yep.
he worked overnights.
Yeah,
That's
that
a
was just
long
here.
time. Yeah.
I worked him for over a year here. I worked him for a couple years before I got here too. So I was kind of a night owl.
Yeah, you were a night owl, and I would come in the morning, and I would see you every single morning at our residential.
Groggy. I'd be all groggy.
Yeah, and you're ready to go, but you stayed. You'd help me. You taught me a lot. We'd sometimes we just talk.
Yeah.
We'd help each other through the things that we were going through, and we just became that family. And I can call you my friend today too, which I love.
Yeah.
And when we opened up the IOP, we needed some case managers. And we figured because Haley did you dusty over there at the other spot that we would throw you a bone and make you a case manager.
My bad, everybody.
But the truth is he earned that position by his
100%.
hard work and dedication. And, it was a transition. Dude, you've been working nights for years, and all of a sudden now we got let alone a new facility that we're all trying to figure out just how to make it run perfectly and keep client care number one,
Right.
but still get the job done. And, you transitioned extremely well, man. And you're, amazing case manager today, and thank you, bro, for the work that you do.
you guys.
I mean, it wasn't easy for any of us to make
Travis
the changes.
definitely has the most patience out of all of us. I will say that.
No, that's weird to hear somebody say that about me. That really is.
I'm just
'cause
saying.
I'm like the least patient dude.
I've seen you in some situations there. I'm like, I would have already
Motor vehicle
lost my
in
crap.
the courts.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what we're all talking about right
Yes, indeed.
now. Super patient.
Yeah.
And so, when I just when I think about it, man, and I think about, all of our future here with the company and all
Right.
the expansion. I mean, we're getting ready to open Rose Garden, right? We got, up in Payson, new sanctuary
Yep.
location in Payson. We got Ebby that's coming on board. Our sister company, New Method, and
They've got a couple houses.
They got a couple places. I mean, the expansion, everything that we got going on, and it's amazing to be a part of.
Right.
When you see yourself here, Travis, with the vision, with Sanctuary, dude, where do you see yourself going with us?
I just want to find out what all I'm capable of when it comes to helping addicts. I want to find out, like how far I can take this thing and how many people I can really help.
Right.
Because that's the number one thing for me is like the reason that I work in treatment is because I was in sales for a long time because first of all, that's mostly what addicts can get is sales jobs, and I was a bit of a shark doing that, and I just didn't like who sales really made me. I didn't like.
I know the feeling.
You know the feeling, okay. And so like I didn't like that anymore, and so that's why I got into treatment. And so I just want to find out, what I can do to help people more, how I can grow, and how me growing doing this can help other people. That's really what I want to find out. I don't know how to explain it. Like there's something about like I never go home from this job thinking that like like questioning what I'm doing for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I don't question like, man, am I being a shady bastard or anything? You know what I mean? I don't ever ask myself stuff like that. I don't have that. There's no question. You know, I know that I'm doing all I can to help a guy who's going through what I went through.
Right.
Or gal, you know, and I don't know. So I guess in answer to your question, I would just like to find out how far I can go helping people.
Yeah, man, and we can't wait to see how far you go, and and do it together as as the Sanctuary team, man. So I appreciate you being on the show, and
me too.
And Haley, where can they find us at? Because like our stuff, subscribe our stuff. If you want to be a guest on the show, shoot a message, share all of our posts, reach out to us, come be a part of.
Right.
You know, that's what it's all about. Haley, where can they find us?
Oh man, it's a list now. It's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Music. Am I missing one? I think that's it. Sanctuary Recovery Centers.
I mean, you could find us on every single platform. YouTube, you know where it's at.
That's what I was
You know,
missing.
anywhere you can find anything, we're there. Sanctuary RC, man, look us up. Subscribe to our stuff. All of our episodes drop on Friday, so make sure you're always waiting for Friday's new episode. And Travis, man, thank you for being on the show. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This has been great.
Tune into the next episode.
See you next time.
Bye, y'all.